What if you could decode an entire civilization, not from some ancient scroll or dusty artifact, but from its telephone system? Well, today that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to see how a simple string of numbers can unlock a world's deepest secrets. So let's just start with this question right here. What if a phone number told a story? And I don't just mean, who you're calling. I mean a story about who you are in your society, what you believe, and where you fit into the whole grand scheme of things. Our journey is going to take us to the world of Arreqqana. And the key, the one thing that's going to let us unlock its entire culture, is something called the Caravanian phone system. We're literally going to unspool the thread of this society one digit at a time. Now, this is not just a bunch of wires and poles. The Caravanian system, which, by the way, is run by the perfectly named Office of Thread Signals, is this meticulously organized grid. It's basically infrastructure as cultural expression. It's a direct reflection of a very, very structured society. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. Before we can even begin to understand a single person's phone number, we have to get our heads around the planetary grid that connects absolutely everyone. And this system, it doesn't just map geography, it maps their very concepts of time and space. Everything starts with one single prefix. Any call coming from off-worlds to Arreqqana begins with +852. That one code plugs you into an entire planet, routing you straight into their universal grid. Pretty simple, right? And from that single planetary prefix, the system breaks down into 11 distinct regions. So you've got the coastal country with area code 850, the huge desert country, which actually uses a few codes from 852 to 855, and then there's the capital city at 881. Each one has its own code, giving us a really clear geographical map of their world. But here's where it gets really interesting. The grid doesn't just map space, it also maps time. And they do it very differently. Their day isn't 24 hours. It's based on a 48-point clock, and that has huge implications for how they organize their entire world. This unique clock creates 10 cosmological time zones. And I love this part. Time isn't just a number to them. It's tied directly to the land and its spiritual element. So the coast zone is connected to water-wind flow, while the desert zone, dest, is defined by sun, fire, stone, heat. In Arreqqana, time itself has a personality, a meaning. All right, now we're going to zoom in. We're going from the planetary level right down to the personal. This is where the phone system stops being a map of the world and starts being a mirror, reflecting the absolute core of Arreqqana society right there in a single digit, the extension number. So a personal household number there is 15 digits long. You've got the planetary prefix we already talked about, the regional code, a unique household line. But the real story, all the cultural juice, is packed into that final digit, the extension. And here it is, the power structure of every single home laid out in phone extensions. It's called the sacred matrilineal hierarchy. Extension 1. That is always the matron. She's the head of the household, no questions asked. Extension 2 is her eldest daughter, the heir. Then come the other kids. And only after all the children do we finally get to the husbands. This whole structure is actually because of a pretty recent change, a kind of codex update. It used to be that husbands didn't even get an extension on the main family line at all. Now they do, but look at where they're placed. They're always numbered after the children. This tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. The future lineage always takes precedence over a marital partner. Now, for the really big noble houses, the system gets even more specific. They're allowed to use decimal extensions, like 4.1, 4.2, for multiple sons or husbands. And it's all justified by this one symbolic saying, one flame, many threads. It means the core household is that single flame, but it can branch out into all these other threads, and each one has a very clear place in the hierarchy. And the system truly accounts for every part of their life. Extension 8, for instance, is reserved for household staff, guardians, attendants, that sort of thing. But Extension 9? That connects you directly to the ancestor shrine, which answers with an automatic chanted greeting. Think about that. Spiritual reverence is literally built right into their phone grid. So we've got the household figured out. Now let's zoom back out and see how this very structured way of thinking about communication expands into the rest of society, into how they do business, how they handle crises, and how they run their government. Compared to the household lines, the system for businesses is way more straightforward. It's a simple 10-digit number. You've got your commercial prefix, the business sector, a shop code, and then an extension for the department.
There's no deep cultural meaning here. It's just practical, built for getting things done.
And in a crisis, things get even simpler. Emergency numbers are just 5 digits, and they all start with +55. You've got universal codes for the big stuff: 550 for medical, 551 for police, and 552 for fire and rescue. It's all designed to be direct and immediate, right when it matters most.
But then we get to government lines, and something really fascinating happens. Remember those decimal extensions we saw for the Big Noble houses? Well, the government uses them too, but it means something way more profound. Just look at that extension, 5.1. That little dot is a rare, and in their culture, almost sacred piece of syntax.
I mean, this is just a brilliant illustration of how a piece of grammar can become a powerful cultural symbol. These decimal extensions are reserved only for government. They represent layered decision-making and this core political idea they have, that governance is never the act of a single person, but is always woven from multiple threads of authority. Okay, so let's put all of these pieces together. We've looked at the big planetary grid, we've dissected the household hierarchy, and we've seen the lines for the rest of society. Now let's look at a quick practical example to really see how it all clicks into place. So here we have a phone book entry for the Tarak Hafiz's household. The story is just laid out so clearly in the numbers. Extension 1 is the matron. Extension 2, her eldest daughter. Then we see 2 husbands at 5 and 6. And finally, the ancestor shrine at 9. In a single glance, you get the entire structure, the priorities, and even the spiritual life of this family. So the crucial takeaway here is this. The Korevayan phone system isn't just about making calls. It's a living codex of Arreqqana's most deeply held values. It reveals that strict matrilineal hierarchy, that deep cosmological connection to their world, and that core philosophy of a woven, collaborative government. And that brings us right back home, doesn't it? It leaves us with a pretty provocative question. What do our own systems, our area codes that can signal wealth or poverty, our zip codes that define our neighborhoods, our internet protocols, what does all of that invisible infrastructure reveal about the values and the stories that are coded, maybe even unintentionally, into our own world?